We've talked recently about, grandparents raising grandchildren. Let's talk about the situation where grandparents, we need to remember we're no longer the parents. Maybe our children are doing great jobs raising our grandchildren, but we're choosing to interfere. Shame on us. I want to spend a little time today just contrasting that earlier segment with making that leap, making that transition, and remembering that you are no longer the parent. You're now in a different role. And over the course of our lifetime, we wear many hats, we have many different roles, and we will thrive in each role if we choose to kind of recognize the transitions and make the best of them. So I want you to think about if you have any risk of being that overbearing grandparent who's got your nose in your children's business all the time. If you're doing that, let's think about some ways to kind of back off and remember and make the transition. Choose. First of all, choose. I'm going to use that word a lot in my next few videos. I just have found that it's probably one of the most powerful words in the language. Choose or choice. What do you choose to do? What decisions, what thoughts do you choose to hold in your mind and your heart? All of that makes such a difference. But on this particular matter, let's choose as grandparents to embrace and develop that new role. It comes at us quickly. Suddenly somebody's pregnant and there's a grandchild, headed to see us in 9 months. And it's exciting. It's a time of kind of wonder and transition that is unlike others I've experienced in lifetime. But remember, as you take on that new role, your interaction with that child will be in totally different perspective from parenting. You're no longer going to be the primary caretaker or the disciplinarian. You're the one now that is added to the core family circle. That child will come into a household, hopefully with a mother and a father, and they'll be, their little family group, and you'll be in addition to that, unless you happen to live in the household. But you'll be in addition to that, and you can make great things out of that. You can make it special for them to visit you. You can make it special time to teach and guide them. You can take pleasure in what you're teaching and guiding them into. Do you remember how hard it was when they were young and you had, a house full of laundry and grocery shopping that needed to be done and homework that needed to be done, and, little Susie and little Frankie were elbowing each other and fighting in the living room, and you're trying to get dinner on the table? Remember those years? Take some pleasure that you're not in that role anymore, that you're not trying to do it all at a hectic pace and going crazy. Now you can pause and spend time with this child, talk to them, really get to know their unique strengths, and share stories with them. You can teach them family skills. You can really capture the legacy of your particular family. What skills do you have that you can teach them? What history, what family stories that are unique, what experiences, I live in the West, so homesteading is a huge part of many families here in the West because their families have been on the land for generations. Maybe you can take a road trip to a family homestead and point to the ruins and say, these are your roots, child, and see their eyes go, whoa, I'm glad I didn't have to live in that on the prairie in Wyoming with the wind blowing. Or maybe they'll be excited and wish they could have lived that way. It's just capture these moments, capture this time in your life, take on that role in the most positive way that you can. Don't worry about still being the parent. Help. Now, I want you to hear this especially, okay? Help and release your children to be good parents. Release them to be adults. You don't have to do it all now. They're taking on responsibility. Most of us, that's what we want. We want our children to grow up and be responsible, make good decisions, create families for themselves and careers for themselves. Actively create this transition. Pass the baton is what I'm saying. Okay? Allow them to be parents. And who better to do this than us? You know, we've encouraged our own children from birth. We've tried to teach them and grow them. Do that now for them as adults. You know, encourage them to be good parents. Offer help if they ask, but don't interfere. Don't try and get in the middle of their decision making. Be available. And then embrace them and encourage them in their role. Actively point to your children as good parents when you're speaking to your grandchildren. You know, make the distinction between the generations and their roles. So make wise choices is the bottom line. I mentioned that early in the video. Choice is so important. How do you choose to view your new role in your family? Make it a positive transition, make it an active transition, and just watch your family blossom. Watch the confidence in your children as they become parents. I love seeing that in my children sometimes, and just, you know, really standing back and saying, I must have done a good job because they're good parents. Makes me feel good. And maybe that's prideful, or maybe it's just the way it's supposed to be if we do our jobs effectively. Be grand, my friends.